So, central to the mission of the Arthur W. Page Center is the exploration of the role of ethics in public communications.
Right.
So in your professional opinion, what constitutes, or what are the key elements of ethical public relations?
Yeah, thanks, Lee, for asking me about ethics. Certainly critical, central to communications. And I want to just take a minute, just compliment you and Larry Foster for having created the center there, and the focus not only on Arthur Page, but on the development and status and future of corporate public relations, communications, just so critical in the times we're going through right now with the economy and the state that it's in, and looking ahead to what the involvement of government, which I'll talk something more about maybe if we have a chance, the role of government as it impacts corporate behavior and certainly communications. Definition of ethics for me is pretty simple. It's a matter of honesty and fairness, fair dealing. I was, back some years ago, I was chairman of the Counselors Academy of the Public Relations Society. It's back 1990, at which time we came up with our own, we called it Code of Ethics, but codes of ethics are difficult to put together. You can't really require anybody to be ethical. It all comes down to, what do I believe? Do I believe in honesty and fair dealing? And certainly the gross forms of dishonesty gets us back to what Arthur Page years ago reminded us back in the 20s and 30s, when he said that the first principle of dealing with publics and getting their support is to tell the truth. Tell the truth and then back that up with your proof. So for me, and I think for all of us, ethics is a state of mind. And that state of mind is, I will do no harm in our relationships with anybody else, whether they're competitors or customers. And in fact, I'll try to contribute some good, add some value, help to create what I think is essential, and that's the win-win deal between each company and its stakeholders. And ethics come into play there. It's more moral behavior and mental conditioning, mental attitude.
Well, I think finally I'd like to talk about the overall role of ethics in the practice and bring out a point you made in your book having to do with trust, and a point you just brought up about the importance of building trust. And in your book, we'll paraphrase here and correct me if I do it incorrectly, that trust is more than just ethics and more than just compliance. It's a whole set of communications efforts and tools that have to be employed. How do you think ultimately corporations can focus more in on building trust, and what are the main tools and activities they need to use in order to achieve it?
Right. Well, the way the companies can build trust is through fair dealings and honesty with stakeholders that matter. This doesn't mean all stakeholders. I think company, the first thing it has to do is to kind of quantify who are the stakeholders in our success, and actually make a list of them and realize these are critical to us. If they are not with us, as Arthur Page says, in a society, a democratic society, if you don't have public, he called it public, I'd say stakeholder support, then you don't have permission to succeed. You don't have permission to go ahead. So understanding that, that's what we're after, is to build trust. Then it starts with folks having confidence that we will come through with what we said we'd come through with. So it's honesty, expressing a commitment, and then proving it by coming through. Again, back to my formula that over the long term, a company has to show that it is financially accountable, that it's socially accountable, and that it understands public policy, and it is involved in that and will not be knocked over by competitors who are more involved in politics than they are. And trust comes from that. That is from delivery of what I thought you're going to give me. This was a deal. I, the stakeholder, the investor, the employee, the customer, the supplier. This is the deal I made with you, that I'll give you this, which you need, if you give me this, which I need. And the customer is always evaluating that. The stakeholder is always evaluating that.